Chosen one, you are undergoing a transformation so profound that it cannot go unnoticed. The world around you has already begun to take notice, but this change, radiating strength and authenticity, will inevitably unsettle those who are not ready to accept it. Not everyone will understand, and many will resist it. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your courage to grow forces them to confront their own weaknesses, something few are willing to do. You dared to change while they remain stuck in their comfort zones. For many, it's easier to point fingers, criticize, or even despise than to admit they could do the same, but lack the courage. Your evolution is unsettling to those still clinging to the past. You no longer belong to the old circles, the outdated conversations, or the limitations that once surrounded you. This new version of yourself shatters the illusion that complacency is enough. That's why, in an attempt to preserve their own comfort, they'll try to make you doubt yourself. But the truth, chosen one, is that nothing can stop someone who has decided to leave the old behind and be reborn. They will talk, criticize, and perhaps try to tear down what you've built. Yet every attempt will only serve to strengthen your light even more. Because this new version of you isn't just better, it's impossible to ignore. You've crossed a line, chosen courage, and that step is unforgettable, both for you and for others. You're not simply changing, you're being reborn, like a phoenix rising from its own flames, emerging stronger than ever. Everything that no longer serves you, the old limits, the chains, the patterns that held you back, is being burned away. And now your light is visible to all. However, this doesn't mean everyone will be ready to accept it. In fact, your brilliance will disturb many. For some, it will be unbearable. Be prepared, because the hatred some will direct at you won't be for anything wrong you've done, but for everything you're doing right. Your strength, your authenticity, and the vitality of your new self will serve as a painful reminder to them of everything they chose not to be. That's why your transformation will not go unnoticed. It's a shock to those who insist on staying stagnant. In the places where you once fit perfectly, you'll now feel like a puzzle piece out of place. You no longer belong in the same frames because you've outgrown every limit that once held you. The people around you, even unconsciously, are already reacting to your transformation. And why? Because your change acts as an unrelenting mirror, reflecting everything they've tried to hide, the dreams they abandoned, the promises they broke, the potential they buried under the weight of fear and complacency. This reflection doesn't just scare them, it deeply unsettles them. They choose to hate you because facing what you've become forces them to confront a truth they'd rather avoid. The living proof that the impossible is indeed possible. But this is just the beginning. As you grow, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your energy transforms everything around you. When you step into a room, something shifts. People can't quite explain it, but they feel it. Your presence now carries an intensity, a truth so pure it cannot be ignored. And for many, that is unbearable. It's not easy to face someone who rejects the current, who challenges the norms, who refuses to settle for anything less than greatness. That's what you represent now. A force that won't bow, that won't be silenced, that won't be diminished. But remember this, not everyone will embrace it. Some people will support and celebrate your journey. Others, however, will try to pull you back because your rise makes them feel small. Here's the truth. The hatred you face has nothing to do with who you are. It reflects only who they are not. They aren't reacting to your light, but to the shadows it exposes in their own lives. Your courage to break free from patterns and leave behind the comfort of mediocrity is a direct challenge to their complacency. For them, it's easier to hate than to accept that you've proven change is possible. Every criticism, every attempt to diminish you is actually a silent confession. They wish they could be as courageous as you, but they cannot admit it to themselves. They project their frustrations onto you because your transformation forces them to face everything they've been avoiding. But listen closely, you owe no one an explanation. The new you does not need validation because your strength is now unshakable. You rebuilt yourself piece by piece, burned away the old to make room for the new. You created something unique, something no one expected. And that destabilizes them. They weren't prepared to see someone they underestimated become something so powerful. Before, you were comfortable for them, predictable, perhaps even someone who posed no threat to the status quo. But now, you are the unexpected. You are the change they never believed was possible. Your presence no longer allows others to remain asleep in their routines. Every step you take is a reminder that complacency is a choice you refuse to make. And that irritates them. It unsettles them, because now they have to confront a hard truth. Maybe they, too, chose to limit themselves. They may try to hide it, but their discomfort is visible. Your evolution is a force that transforms everything around you, even when others resist it. This transformation you've undergone did not come without sacrifice. You paid the highest price. The new you is the result of sleepless nights, of tears no one ever saw, of inner battles no one could possibly understand. You faced not only the judgment of those around you, but also your own fears, the doubts that kept questioning your strength. And yet, you persisted. Because, deep within, there was an undeniable truth. The old you wasn't capable of carrying the weight of who you were destined to become. So you did the unthinkable. You burned it all. Old beliefs that limited your vision, excuses that held back your steps, ties that kept you bound to what no longer served you. And in doing so, you not only set yourself free, but created something unbreakable, something no one can take away from you. The new you is not just an achievement. It is a symbol of resilience, survival, and a strength that only those who have faced the fire can truly understand. But this strength, as extraordinary as it is, will not be celebrated by everyone. In fact, for many, you will become an uncomfortable, almost unbearable reminder. They will look at you and see not who you are, but everything they themselves could have been. They will see the dreams they abandoned, the opportunities they let slip away, the potential they chose to ignore. That reality is too harsh for some to face. So instead of looking inward and confronting their choices, they will make you the target. That's where the hate begins. They will project onto you their own insecurities, their failures, their frustrations. Because it's easier to point fingers than to admit that you are living proof that change is possible. But remember something essential. Their hate does not diminish who you are. In fact, it confirms the impact you've made. It reinforces how deeply your transformation has shaken everything around you. The world around you is changing. Every space you now occupy is impacted by your presence. And this isn't arrogance, it's simply a fact. What was once ignored is now impossible to overlook. You carry an intensity, an energy so tangible that it makes people stop, look, and reflect. You don't even need to say a word. Your transformation speaks for itself. But with this, there comes a price. The light you emit will attract those who wish to extinguish it. Not because your light is wrong, but because it shines on the shadows many prefer to keep hidden. They will resist, they'll criticize, try to discredit you, and perhaps even attempt to diminish what you've achieved. But know this, it's not about you, it's about them. And that resistance is not your responsibility. Your only mission is to keep shining, to keep growing. And here's the irony. Many of those who hate you today will admire you one day. They may never admit it, but deep down, they'll be watching, trying to figure out how you did it. Until then, remember that your mission was never to please anyone. Your mission is to evolve. Some will never understand your journey, and that's okay. What matters is that you do. You know the road you've walked, the monsters you've faced, and the walls you've torn down. You know that the new you is not just a different version. It's a milestone, a turning point. And while they spend their energy trying to hold you back, you're growing. You're reaching heights they never imagined, impacting others in ways they'll never fully understand. Because in the end, how they feel about you doesn't define who you are. Only you have the power to do that. And maybe you've noticed, people desperately try to put you back in the box you've broken out of. They say things like, you've changed, or you're not the same, or they bring up your past mistakes as if that could hold you back. But what they're really saying is, I don't know how to handle the new you. The old you was comfortable, predictable, someone who fit neatly into their expectations. But now, you've broken the mold. You've become unpredictable, uncontrollable, and that unsettles them. They feel it, even if they'll never admit it. And the more they try to pull you back, the clearer the distance becomes between who you were and who you're meant to be. And that distance, as painful as it may feel at times, is necessary. It's the reflection of how much you've grown. But it also makes one thing clear. Not everyone will join you on this journey. Some relationships, no matter how valuable they once were, simply cannot survive the heat of transformation. Not because you want them to end, but because they no longer serve the higher purpose of your path. The truth is, growth, true growth, requires leaving behind what no longer resonates with your essence. It's painful to realize that some connections that once felt so important were actually rooted in who you used to be, not in the person you've become. But real growth demands this: cutting ties with what cannot grow with you. And that's not abandonment. You're not leaving anyone behind. You're simply choosing, with courage, not to abandon yourself. Looking back, you see it clearly. The old you tolerated things that are now unacceptable. You settled for less than you deserved, allowed your light to be dimmed, and endured environments and people who didn't recognize your value. But those days are over. The new you knows you deserve more respect, more authenticity, more purpose. And with that realization comes an inevitable necessity: setting boundaries. Because those who cannot respect who you've become simply don't have a place in the life you're building now. The old you waited for permission to exist, sought approval to take up space. But the new you? Not anymore. Now, you take up space with confidence and without apology. And by doing so, your impact becomes undeniable. Every decision you make to live aligned with your truth ripples into the lives of those around you. Some will be inspired by your courage and begin their own journeys of transformation. Others, however, will resist. They will fight against it because your change forces them to confront what they've been avoiding for so long. Chosen one, you are not responsible for their resistance. You are not here to carry anyone or ease the discomfort of those who have chosen not to grow. You are here to live your truth and take the place God reserved for you in this world, with all the strength and authenticity that the new you carries. And do you know what's even more powerful? You don't need anyone's validation. The new you is so deeply rooted in truth that no criticism has the power to shake you. They might try to distract you, but it's too late. You've found your strength, and that strength has not only redefined who you are, but has also started to shape the world around you. The new you isn't just a personal milestone, it's a symbol of transformation. A living example that inspires change far beyond what you could have imagined. And while others try to figure out how you did it, you keep moving forward, forging paths no one else dared to take. Those who resist your growth are not your enemies. In truth, they are simply reflections of everything you have already overcome. When they criticize, belittle, or try to hold you back, what they're really saying is, I don't know how to deal with someone who had the courage to set themselves free. Because, honestly, they don't. Your transformation exposes something painful, the invisible prisons they still live in. They may try to tie you to the past, but the new you has already burned those chains. There's no going back. You haven't just walked away from the old narratives, you've destroyed them completely. And for many, that's unbearable. But remember this: resistance does not mean relevance. The hate or criticism some show isn't a sign that you're wrong. Quite the opposite, it's proof that you're right. The more intense your transformation, the stronger their reaction will be. It's like stirring a hornet's nest. You've awakened something that was dormant, something no one wanted to face. But know this: it was never about you. It's always been about them, about their inability to accept that you had the courage to change while they remain stagnant. Deep down, what they feel is a mix of admiration and fear. Admiration because you had the strength to do what they want but don't dare. And fear because your change forces them to confront their own limitations. Now, before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to send a special shout out to our newest members of the Chosen community, Carlos Santos and Eli Silva. Your support makes a huge difference for our channel. And for those of you watching, if this content has helped you in any way, consider becoming a member as well. Just click on Join below this video. By doing so, you help us continue to bring inspiring messages like this one. As a member, you'll also receive priority in our comment responses, and we might even mention your name in our videos to send you a warm shout out. Your support is essential for us to keep spreading this light. Now, let's dive back into this powerful journey of transformation. Here's what's truly fascinating. Your transformation doesn't end here. You're not just defying people's expectations. You're breaking patterns, rewriting the rules. The old you accepted labels, but the new you destroys them. You no longer fit into the molds imposed on you or the limits that once defined you. Every step you take serves as a reminder to the world that true strength lies not in pleasing others, but in being true to yourself, even if it means walking alone for a while. And walking alone is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's a privilege reserved for those who know exactly where they're headed. As you continue to grow, something magical begins to happen. The hate from some, which once may have hurt you, now becomes fuel. Every criticism, every attempt to belittle you, only serves as a reminder of how far you've come. What once had the power to wound you has now become insignificant. You've become resilient, unshakable, because you know your journey hasn't been easy, and no one can take away what you've worked so hard to achieve. And here's the most intriguing part. Even those who criticize you now will eventually start to pay attention. They may not admit it, but they'll be watching every step you take, trying to understand how you did it. And maybe, just maybe, some of them will feel inspired to pursue their own change. But that's not something you need to wait for. Your mission is not to carry anyone, but to be a living example of what's possible. Because in the end, the new you isn't just a reminder for others, it's the greatest proof that you've conquered yourself. And there is no greater victory than that. When you look in the mirror, the reflection you see carries something no one else can fully understand. The battles you fought to get here. Every scar, every defeat, every silent tear has become the solid foundation of what you've built. The new you is not just the result of sheer strength. It's a masterpiece shaped by chaos, a living expression of your courage and determination. But to others, all they see is the glow, the strength, the transformation. They don't see the nights when you almost gave up, or the internal battles you fought. And that's why judging becomes so easy for them. But here's the point. Their opinions do not define you. Who you are now was forged in the fire of adversity, and nothing they say can take that away. Still, some people will try to get close to you, not to celebrate who you've become, but to try to pull you back to the place where they feel comfortable. They'll wear masks of concern, remind you of who you used to be, or try to minimize what you've become. But never forget, what they say isn't about you. It's about their fear of being left behind. You make them question their own choices, their lack of courage. And because of that, they'll try to tie you to the past, to what you've already outgrown. But here's the truth. The past is no longer your home. You don't belong there anymore. The old you had to fight to be heard, respected, accepted. But the new you doesn't ask for permission. You take up space because it was always your right to do so. The people who resist this aren't fighting against you. They're fighting against what you represent. Your transformation is living proof that complacency is a choice, and abandoning that choice is the key to freedom. When you choose growth, when you step out of the comfort zone, you challenge the narrative that sustains the lives of many. For some, that's inspiring. For others, it's unbearable. But your journey isn't about pleasing others, and you know that. Growth, by nature, takes you to places where not everyone can follow. That's not cruelty, it's evolution. Not everyone is meant to walk alongside you in the next chapter of your journey. And that's okay. You've realized that true power comes from leaving behind everything that no longer resonates with your essence. But remember this, it's not your responsibility to carry anyone. Your role is not to save others. Your role is to inspire. And the best way to do that is simply by being yourself, living your truth authentically, walking with purpose in every step you take. Your light will continue to shine, and those who are ready to grow will align themselves with you. And those who aren't, they'll keep resisting. But none of that matters, because the new you has already won. And your greatest victory isn't over others, it's over yourself. Those who are ready to grow will naturally align with you, and those who aren't may continue to hate, resist, or even try to bring you down. But in the end, none of that truly matters, because the new you has already won. And that victory has nothing to do with others. It's about you, about everything you've overcome, about how much you've fought to be exactly where you are now. Remember this, as you move forward, the most challenging battle won't be with those who criticize you, but with the older parts of yourself. The old you may occasionally try to resurface. Old doubts, old fears, and old beliefs might try to come back. But the difference now is that you know how to face them. You have the tools, the strength, and the clarity that your transformation has given you. You've already proven to yourself that you can overcome anything. So even when echoes of the past arise, they won't have the power to stop you. The new you is unbreakable because it was forged in the fire of experience. And that's exactly what others can't comprehend. They think you've simply changed. But what truly happened goes beyond that. You've been reborn. You chose to rebuild yourself, piece by piece, until you created a version of yourself that is true to your purpose, authentic to your essence. This process wasn't quick, nor was it easy, but it was absolutely necessary. Now, you've become a force that cannot be ignored, a presence that cannot be erased or diminished. They may try to hate, resist, or discredit you, but in the end, the new you will persist, because what you've built, no one can destroy. What you need to understand, and perhaps haven't fully realized yet, is that the new you isn't just a personal transformation. It's a declaration of power. Every step you take now carries a weight that goes far beyond your individual journey. The people around you feel it, even those who would never dare speak to you directly, even those who pretend not to notice. Your energy is now impossible to ignore. You're not just someone who has changed, you've become a disruption to their sense of balance. You're a constant reminder that anyone can evolve as long as they have the courage. But as you know, courage isn't for everyone. Many prefer to remain in their comfort zones, clinging to the status quo, even if it means living far below their true potential. That's why some will react to the new you with anger, resistance, or even attacks. They're not ready to accept that change is possible. For them, it's easier to project their frustration onto you. But what they haven't realized yet is that their hate doesn't weaken you. In fact, it strengthens you. Every negative word they throw at you becomes fuel, feeding the fire that drives you even higher. As you move forward, a pattern becomes clear. Those who resist your growth are often at war with their own limitations. They try to hide them, try to justify their immobility. But deep down, they know you represent something they've been avoiding for far too long. The call to something greater. Your presence isn't just uncomfortable for them, it's transformative. Even if they fight against it, something within them has already started to shift. It's as if your very existence forces them to face everything they've been trying to ignore for so long. And this is exactly why the new you was created. You're not here just to grow for yourself. Your journey is a catalyst for those around you. Every barrier you break, every limit you redefine, paves the way for others to do the same. The impact of your transformation goes far beyond you. It resonates, inspires, and challenges the world around you to change. You don't need to speak. Your life is now the most powerful testimony there is. You don't need to explain. You don't need to convince. Your transformation speaks louder than any words. Those who are ready to listen will hear it. Those who resist will continue fighting the inevitable. But even they will be touched in some way. Because the new you isn't just a change, it's a silent revolution that challenges everything around it. Never underestimate the impact of what you're doing. Every step you take, every choice to stay true to yourself, is shaping the future in ways you can't yet imagine. The new you isn't just a symbol of strength, it's living proof that change is real, and that greatness is within reach for anyone willing to face the fire and rise again. If there's one thing this message should make clear, it's this: you are no longer the person you used to be. The new you hasn't just overcome barriers, it has redefined what it means to be resilient, authentic, and fearless. Every step you take now is a milestone. Every choice you make is a reminder that your light cannot be extinguished. And the most amazing part? Your journey has only just begun. What you've already achieved is just a small glimpse of what's still ahead. Because the new you doesn't know limits, it only knows infinite possibilities. Now is the time to keep going. Let them talk. Let them resist. While they try to figure out what you've become, you'll be building, creating, and impacting. Because that's your essence. You transform everything you touch simply by existing. The new you isn't a passing phase. It's an unstoppable force. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop someone who has chosen to rise with purpose. So keep shining. Keep being the living proof that courage changes everything. And never forget, the future belongs to those who dare to defy expectations. If this message touched your heart, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Share this video with someone who's also going through a transformation, or who hasn't yet discovered the immense potential they have. Leave a comment below, sharing how the new you has been impacting the world around you. We can't wait to hear your story. See you next time. And remember, the strength within you is unshakable, and your transformation is just the beginning of something extraordinary.